Welcome to Real People, Real Voices. I'm James Jackson.
I'm Pastor Wayne Moore.
Always a pleasure to host with you.
Yes, it is, brother. How you doing?
Doing good. We're back.
Yeah, brand new year.
Brand new year. Got some great new guests and a new sponsor.
Yeah, new sponsor. Let's talk about our sponsors. Tamiko, Associate Realty Group, and now the Lavinia and Summers Home of Funerals, Marion County Public Health Department, Isles Modern Clothing and Shoes, His Place Eatery. Not only that, Fervent Prayer Christian Academy, Lee Coastal and Crawley, North Side Window and Gutter Cleaning.
And the list continues to grow.
It's growing. I mean, when we first started this some years ago, we only had one or two, but now God is doing some things, making some things happen. And we're going to take full advantage of it because it's going to benefit the people whom we talk to.
And that's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about.
Speaking of people that it benefits, those of you who are watching, you can go to WHMB TV 40 on YouTube. And all of the shows that we have had over the past several years here, you can watch those as well as this show and gather all the information. And
yeah, you can like us on Facebook.
Yes.
Because we're there hanging around, doing what we can to make it happen, to make sure that we give you some information that will bless your life.
And our pictures from about 6 years ago.
Oh,
still on
man, they're still on there. And you know what? You haven't changed much, man, at
Really?
all. No, and I haven't either. I've gotten younger, I believe.
Yeah.
Muscles, my mass has gotten bigger. Muscle mass has gotten bigger. Doing extremely well, I think.
Yeah, well, you must be rubbing off on me then.
Yeah, I guess I am. With them guns you got, brother.
Well, speaking of guns, our guest, certainly, he's a great man in the community doing services for our community. He's got some guns too, if you will.
Yeah.
But we'll be talking to a wonderful, wonderful man, Mr. Emmanuel Smith Jr. of Lavinia's and Smith, Lavinia and Summers Home for Funerals. And we'll be back after these messages. Welcome back. We're joined by Mr. Emmanuel Smith Jr., Lavinia and Summers. Welcome to the show.
Happy New Year to you, pastors. Thank you so much for all that you do. Certainly appreciate.
Happy to have you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, 2022. Here we come, right?
Yeah, we're right there.
Here.
Yeah, we're right there.
And certainly the last 2 years have been a challenge for all of us. And you all have been on the front lines along with a lot of other funeral services. Kind of tell us about how you guys have been navigating through this.
Yeah, great question. Certainly, we want to thank God for our first responders, but we also want to thank God for our last responders. And that's kind of where we come in to help the family through and navigate through these challenging times during the COVID-19 pandemic. We had to look at how we can serve families during this difficult time. Virtually. There's some local and state regulations that are in place, that we had to adhere to. We're back to some type of normalcy right now with having services, and certainly you guys having churches. Some churches haven't even reopened as of yet.
Well, it's still with us, Brother Smith. It's still with us. COVID has not gone anywhere, and I think what makes it possible to some is the strict requirements in facilities. I think that helps it tremendously, but it hasn't gone anywhere. Many of us, we act like it has, but it's still with us.
Yes, sir.
And I'm pretty sure you receive increased numbers, not based on the usual, but COVID numbers.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you what that daddy is, but I know you had several COVID services this year.
Yes, 2020, 21 has really, taught us how to look at our business and how to serve families. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is, if a loved one, has COVID-19, there's some protocols that we, put in place in order to not only keep the family safe, but also keep our staff and the community safe. So we'll have a no contact for 10 to 14 days. That loved one has to be embalmed, disinfected, sanitized, and restored before we can properly have a service. Now, those are Lavinia and Summers policies, okay? And then we'll have our funeral arrangements virtually. So FaceTime or we'll do Zoom. And families have been very, very receptive that not only are thinking about them in the community, putting these practices and these policies in place to keep everyone safe during this challenging time.
That's great. That's great. To make the transition, I mean, this is totally a different, if I could say, animal. And if you're not careful, I mean, facilities can be shut down
Yes, sir.
based on the inability to make sure that things are being done well.
Yes, sir.
Even as we speak, it could happen
Yes.
if people are not following guidelines.
Right.
Because now, if a COVID case arises in a specific area, they're going to ask you, where do you think you got it? And automatically they'll go back to that particular location. And I know a few of them have been shut down because of that.
Yes, sir. Our zip code 46218 is one of the highest in the state of Indiana. And, we are seeing, in the past years, the increased numbers of COVID-19 deaths and that 46218 zip
1-8
code.
is rough, huh?
It's tough.
So has this created some staffing issues for you all?
It has, the nursing, the medical staff, they're working tirelessly, trying to keep people alive in the hospitals. But as last responders, certainly it's been very, very challenging for us too, just with the number of COVID deaths. In 2020, we had just an uptick, an increase of COVID deaths, and trying to, of course, you guys watch the national news in New York and Philadelphia and California, just areas where we were just bombarded with a lot of COVID deaths, but we had to adapt. And we had to learn how to better serve these families. Some families, they were very understanding. Some families, not so much. But to be able to tell a family, we can only accommodate 10 guests. It's not our policy, but these are, local and state regulations that were put in place to keep our community safe.
Difficult on the family.
Very difficult. And then as clergy, you guys know, coming to the funeral home, most of the services now even have been at the funeral home or outside gravesides. So, and that was, 2020. But 2021, those things were, eased up. So, we're able to kind of get back to some normalcy.
Kind of talk about some of the services that you provide.
Yeah, so during COVID, we were able to, thank God for technology. So like I mentioned earlier, we were able to have virtual arrangements. Families were like, what are virtual arrangements? So basically we Zoom or FaceTime, and everybody has a, FaceTime, or it's an app called WhatsApp if you, for those Android users out there. So we're able to connect with them in real time and give them the information that they need. People love seeing, a human face to face, but having that technology where they can see us and we can see them, and then we can send them information electronically. They can view their casket selections and vaults and urns depending on the type of services that they like to have. Another great thing is live streaming. So, when we were really at 10 or 25 guests and, you had a prominent person in the community or someone who had a big family, we're able to share the link for that live stream. And I had a service last year, and a young lady passed away, and her services were live streamed in 11 different countries. And that just resonated with my heart that, that just resonated with me.
Well, we got a lot more to talk about. we got to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll have more from Mr. Emmanuel Smith, Lavinia, and Summers funeral services. So stay with us. We'll be back after this. Welcome back, and we're joined by Mr. Emmanuel Smith Jr., Lavinia, and Summers Home for Funerals. And we're just enjoying the information you're sharing with us. One of the things that people don't really like to talk about, but it is certain for all of us, and pre-planning, also known as prearrange.
Yes.
And how easy is that? Well, of course, people don't like to talk about it, but how easy is it and how necessary is it?
Yeah, great question. The families that we serve, certainly death and dying is taboo in their households. And this goes back, a long time ago, but pre-planning is so important. Why? It reduces stress, okay? The loss of a loved one has, really elevates stress, anger, things like that, saves money. And then also, the most important thing is that it communicates your wishes to your family, your church, and your loved ones, right? So those are some really important reasons that we encourage families to pre-plan. I like to always encourage families to use this this analogy of, do you guys like pie, right?
Most of the time, yeah.
Okay, apple, cherry, peach.
Yeah.
All right, I love pie. So when you sit down to eat a pie, right, you're gonna cut the pie into slices, correct? So everybody pre-plans. You pre-plan a wedding, birthday, your holidays, your vacations, all of that's pre-planned. Why not pre-plan your final expenses, your funeral arrangements? So getting back to the pie, okay? You don't eat a pie in all one setting, right? No, you're gonna take a slice of pie at a time. Same thing with pre-planning, the casket, the funeral services, the vault, the cemetery. This is what we encourage families to do. It's so helpful and saves a lot of time, especially someone that's going to take care of your estate. This is going to dictate to them how your funeral services will be handled.
Pre-planning, which I think is a good idea.
Yes, sir.
For any family, if they can understand the processes of it. Pie is a great illustration. Another piece that in COVID, we experienced an enormous amount of deaths. Did Lavinia and Summers participate in the government program as it relates to those families who were able to apply for COVID relief for funerals and things of that nature? Did that work out? How did that work just for your particular funeral?
Yeah, it's a great question. So,
And is it still available?
yeah, I'm not sure about that, but we would just refer them to the website for FEMA, and then we would allow them to take care of those details through the government.
Yeah, and then the reason why I asked that, because I guess I'm a pastor,
Yes, sir.
and I've done a lot of funerals. That's nothing in my estimation to be proud of, but I've seen a culture that has struggled with pre-planning.
Yeah.
And then if the pre-planning is not there, they don't have financial support.
Right.
And I was just wondering, did the FEMA system work well during COVID-19 for these families?
Yeah, from my understanding, just following up with some of the families through our aftercare program, they seem to be, pleased with it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Because
yeah.
they need to be in the place called burial if that transpires.
Yeah.
And we have so many that get caught up in the delay of it because of that.
Yeah, and also there's a lot of local assistance programs here in the greater Indianapolis area, depending on what township you live in, the trustees, Medicaid assistance, and Veterans Administration benefits as well can be assistance to those families who lost veterans.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of people may not think they can afford it. So can you say more about the affordability of pre-planning? I know you talked about the pie, which kind of breaks it all down.
Yeah.
But historically, burying people, funeral services, everything that goes along with that, you get into a lot of money. Has that changed? Is it where you have different things where everybody's budget can handle it?
Yeah, so the National Funeral Directors Association, 2021, average funerals anywhere from $9,500 to $12,000, which is, kind of standard funeral and burial, okay? Cremation can be a little less expensive depending on what type of services you want to have for cremation. But once again, we encourage families to pre-plan today. Don't wait until tomorrow because, like everything else, inflation increases, prices are going up. We're seeing metal has increased. So, at some point, every business industry is going to have to, increase their charges.
Pass the cost on to the consumer.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it seems like, as Dr. Moore said, I'm a pastor as well and have done more funerals than I wish I had to do, but it's a reality. It's
Yes, sir.
part of life, cradle to the grave, if you will. And there are a lot more people who are requesting the cremation.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that in some of your colleagues where people are saying, well, no, we're not going to spend the money on the casket. We're not going to spend all that money. We're just going to do the cremation. Are you seeing a uptick in that as well?
Absolutely. Cremation is on the rise. The days of, traditional funerals they're still here, but cremation is certainly a first choice. Sometimes with some families when there are, some financial limitations or like an immediate burial. So, it is, our times are changing and our communities are adapting.
Is that something that people can pre-plan and pay for cremation services too?
Absolutely.
Anything in the funeral home can be pre-planned.
Yeah.
Now, what's the average cost of a cremation versus going through the traditional process?
At Lavinia and Summers, the average cost of a direct cremation is probably about $2,000.
Direct
Cremation, no
meaning
service.
No service.
Yep. So we allow, the immediate family to see their loved one last time, and then, we'll move forward with the cremation. Some families at a later time, they like to, have a memorial service, and we certainly can accommodate them.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of the young people say, well, I don't want to spend that money on a headstone and casket and all that sort of thing. Yeah. So I suppose that's contributing to the rise on cremations.
It is too. And, really a lot of people, we move around, right? So, some people are from Indianapolis. They may move to California and, maybe have a small family. So as you're moving around, your traditions, family traditions, are changing. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Well, you've been a great guest.
Thank you.
And, go ahead. We got about a minute 30.
No, I'm fine. Yeah.
All right. And all the best to the services that you all provide. And thank you for serving our community.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. It's a blessing and an honor to work alongside the clergy in Indianapolis. You guys do so much for us, and we appreciate you. And I know sometimes you guys don't get that pat on the back, but as a funeral director, we thank you because without you guys, we couldn't be here. So thank you for having me. Happy New Year again. All the best to you guys and your families and to your churches in 2022.
Thank you.
And thanks for being a long-time sponsor.
Absolutely.
In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Thank you all for being with us. We have the rundown up next, so stay with us. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. I'm James Jackson.
And I'm Pastor Wayne Moore.
And I'm Curtis Baker, your producer of Real People, Real Voices.
And before we get started talking about our last guest, which is also one of our new sponsors, let's kind of give the rundown on the sponsor.
And Happy New Year, by the way.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
2022.
2022.
Yes.
Tamiko and Associates is one of our great sponsors, along with Marion County Public Health Department, Lee Castle and Crawley, Owl's Modern Clothing and Shoes, His Place Eatery, Fervent Care Christian Academy, Northside Window and Gutter, and our new sponsor, Lavinia and Summers Home for Funerals. Good guest today, guys. I know you touched on pre-planning, and that's one of the things that we really, I think, need to consider, as families, as a community. We just, it's inevitable. And you get to that table, and if you're not prepared, and I can say this personally because I know my father, when my father passed, he had pre-planned for my mother and himself. And that was so much pressure that was taken off of our family. And and I've been at the table with people who have not pre-planned, and I'll tell you that's
we
something.
live in a culture now that pre-planning is not an issue because of the COVID-19 data
True.
and the homicide data. And then you also, this is hitting people who are in, if I could use the term that Dr. Green uses, are in desert places. And that homicides and COVID-19, and they don't have the resources and to do this. And that's why this escalation in possibly cremation is moving up, et cetera. But pre-planning is the way to go in any family situation if it's conducive to do.
If it's conducive to do.
Yeah, we find so often families trying to raise money.
Yeah.
Church gets phone calls.
Yeah.
It's such a stressful situation.
It's very stressful.
But as you said, when my dad died in 2020, I'm sorry, July 2020, we had all that done. And then I've got it done for my wife and I. And of course, we don't like to talk about it.
Don't like to talk about it.
But it's inevitable for
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah.
And it's just, in our culture, of course, it's a challenge.
Yeah.
But more and more people are going ahead and getting it done. So thank you all for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Aunt Jeanette.
We'll see you next time.
All right.